living in Florida and living in an RV. If you decide to live full-time in Florida, or if you plan to spend a considerable amount of time in Florida, I believe you should seriously consider living in an RV. And here's why. I want to break down at least three examples or three bullet points on why living in an RV, specifically in Florida, makes sense. Now, again, there's always the disclaimer that your personal life situation with work and your obligations in life, everything depends on that. So you're going to have to apply this to your own life. But the number one reason I would say living in an RV, specifically in the state of Florida, is wise is because of hurricanes. When you live in Florida, the number one thing that will cross your mind, specifically with regards to housing, is trying to mitigate the risk of damage with hurricanes. Because every year, it's hurricane season. There is a hurricane season where your house can be vulnerable to damage or complete destruction. And so that's not to be feared, but it's to be understood and then planned accordingly. And having a regular house, conforming house, many times there's high insurance, and there's a lot of liability in having a fixed dwelling in an area, specifically if you want to live somewhat by the beach, but even inland, there's a lot of damage that can be done off the coast. But either way, the number one reason, in my opinion, that living in an RV, specifically in Florida, makes sense is because of hurricanes. And when a hurricane comes and you live in an RV, your house has wheels on it. Whether if your RV is a travel trailer or a motorhome, you have the ability to get your RV and get it moved. Okay, you could either put it in a storage place, not in the pathway of the storm, or you can have it towed or tow it completely out of the state. The flexibility of having your house on wheels and the ability to quickly move it, and especially with a hurricane, usually in most instances have a few days that you're notified prior that a hurricane is in your pathway of where you live in Florida. So for that reason alone, I think it's a huge value add. Okay, and that's why too in Florida they even have some communities that are RV communities. Okay, meaning that you own just a piece of land or a concrete pad with full utility hookups to park an RV, because it's an attractive way to live, because you mitigate liability, you mitigate housing insurance, and all the other things that you are worried about, you're concerned about if you get a fixed normal dwelling in Florida. And mobile homes, you'll see a lot of mobile home trailers in Florida, but they're not really mobile. No one tows a mobile home off their lot when there's a hurricane or for any other reason. A mobile home, I think the name is very deceiving because they're not mobile. An RV is mobile and it could be moved in a blink of an eye. And I looked in one community where even the HOA requirement was your RV has to be highway ready, so that if there is a hurricane coming, that it's ready to hit the highway and get out of there. So that's the number one reason, the flexibility in a hurricane season. The number two reason is Florida itself is an RV-friendly state. This kind of piggybacks off my original number one comment that Florida, because of hurricanes, that there are many communities in Florida that are RV communities. There are many state parks. There are many privately owned parks specifically dedicated to RVs. If you ever come to Florida and you drive around, what you're going to see is a high number of RVs on the road. Okay, Florida is an environment where, because the temperature is so warm all year round, it allows for camping all year round. Okay, so the height of tourism season is about November through April. Okay, now hurricane season is anywhere from, let's say July to October, but really August and September are the 2 months that hurricanes tend to strike the most. And so many times there's not too many visitors in Florida in August and September. But whether you're a full-time resident or whether you just happen to be in the state during hurricane season, your ability to be able to move within the state and find other accommodations at an RV park, state park, RV community, you have many landing places that you can move your trailer. And not just low end like trailer park, what they would say like trailer park trash or bad trailer park neighborhoods. Because I came from New Jersey, and in New Jersey there really wasn't many places, state parks, local parks, trailer parks that you can go that were nice, that were available to you to park an RV. And that's why I really never even looked at the RV culture, because in New Jersey, because of the weather, there is not, it's cold in the winter. It's illegal to camp all year round in New Jersey. I think you can only camp 180 days, and it has to be like through, March or April to November. You can't camp all year round. You can't camp in the winter, technically. So in Florida, there's camping all year round. So in Florida, there's a lot of state parks, local parks, county parks, privately owned communities that have places specifically deeded, specifically allocated for RVs. And so it's a community, it's an atmosphere, it's an enabling environment for you to have an RV. So because you have those resources at your disposal, it makes sense to have an RV. Like if you had an RV and you lived in New Jersey, it wouldn't make sense necessarily to have a mindset of living in it, because you don't have the accommodations, you don't have the environment, you don't have the culture to support the lifestyle you want to live. So again, you got hurricane season and you got the environment that allows you to have places to park an RV and to live in it. So you got two things there. And the third thing is, Florida is a huge state by landmass. As far as the actual square footage per se of the state, it's a very big state. If you look at the land mass, the amount of land in Florida versus New Jersey example, Florida's a way bigger state. So for that notion, again, you could pick up and you can go to different parts of the state, whether it's to visiting, vacation, because again, you can kind of like just do a loop in Florida, just drive around the outer perimeter, and you would basically be on vacation all year round, because Florida is a unique state where it's, I believe they call it a peninsula, where it's surrounded on three sides by ocean. And in the middle of the state is Disney World. So, even if you wanted to cross and go from one ocean to the other, you're going through magical land. So because there's such a big landmass and different places to go, an RV allows you to explore such a big state and have accommodations to live no matter where you go in the state. And it kind of all goes back to the main point of why I like RV living or mobile living. Again, even if you did it like in a caravan. Now, living in a caravan, there's less accommodations, okay? You're living primitive. But an RV is more expensive, okay? So there's trade-offs. But the RV or a mobile lifestyle, however you define it, the number one asset is the flexibility. And that's what it all comes back to. And as I get older, I put an extreme value and focus on the flexibility of something, because that's power, that's empowerment to you. Now, an RV is a depreciating asset. It goes down in value just like a car over time. A house tends to go up in value, or land. But that's why I say, look, everything can be a misleading metric. So if you wanted to buy land and not put a regular house on, just have an RV, I think that's wisdom. But you don't even have to buy land because there's so many RV parks. And so you have to calculate all things before you start to look at should I stick with the conforming normal way versus the not normal way? Because many times when you're talking about Florida, it's not a normal state. The weather is an extreme difference. Florida is the warmest state in America in the winter. So it's different, okay? The landscape is different, okay? So you can't think the same in buying a house or having a house as you would in other states or other parts of the world, because you have to consider the weather, the culture, the risk, the liability of having a regular house in Florida versus having the mobility of living in an RV. So again, this is just my opinion, my experience based on my lifestyle that I like. Again, everything is relative to you, what you like, what your needs are, what your wants are. But I think for some of those reasons that I listed, and maybe even more, that an RV, as long as it's below your means and as long as you do the research and you think it may work for you, I think many instances an RV in Florida makes sense to mitigate your risk away from getting damaged by a hurricane, to having the culture and the environment and the landscape to support an RV lifestyle, and to be able to travel and enjoy the big state that is Florida and all that it has to offer. And worst case scenario, if you ever wanted to move, guess what you do? You put everything in your RV and you're out of there. And I like that. That entices me and excites me about the lifestyle of living in an RV. That's what I wanted to share that's what I wanted to share with you in this video. I make daily videos. If you're not subscribed, I appreciate it if you subscribe. Please click the thumbs up button. Share the video. I appreciate that. And I'll talk to you soon. Peace and love.